Both. The answer is you should do both. Video's over. I know. Let's get into it. Look, there's a lot of people on YouTube who are going to talk about comprehensible input. They sing the praises of just listening and reading, and that's all you need to learn Spanish to a really high level. And I partly agree with them. Comprehensible input will get you understanding Spanish really, really well, and it could potentially get you speaking Spanish really well too. You're also going to find a lot of people on YouTube who sing the praises of learning the grammar, translating, doing Duolingo, doing all these things that get you like learning Spanish. And they say that's all you need to get to a really high level. And again, I partly agree with them too. Grammar is extremely important. Matter of fact, I would argue that it would be difficult to attain a really high level in Spanish without focusing on grammar somewhat. So what's the answer then? Should I just listen and read? Should I just learn grammar and translate? The answer is no. You need to do both. Okay, you need to acquire Spanish and you need to learn it. Okay, what's the difference between the two? Let's go over that. Look, acquiring Spanish is immersing yourself in the language, reading, listening, and speaking in Spanish while you're learning about things that just happen to be in Spanish. Okay, learning Spanish looks like doing grammar exercises and translating from English to Spanish, memorizing vocab, doing flashcards, and all that stuff. And the answer is both of these are going to take you to a really high level in Spanish. But the question is, how do you combine these two in order to get to a really high level in Spanish? And that's what I want to go over with you. Look, should you just learn it? Should you just acquire it? I think you need to do both. But when you combine them correctly, you're going to really skyrocket your gains. What does that look like? Let's go over it. So, if you learn grammar too early, I feel like it might be to your detriment because when you learn grammar too early and too much grammar too early, you're learning a lot of concepts but you're not putting them into practice. And the way we do things here at Apprendics is quite the opposite. We get you in the trenches, we get you acquiring Spanish first, okay, speaking Spanish, understanding Spanish, and you're learning all these grammar concepts without actually learning them, without actually knowing them. And then when the time comes to learn grammar, and we do this in Spanish, by the way, when the time comes to learn grammar, you're becoming familiar with something that you already know. Meaning, because you've already acquired Spanish, when it comes time to learn grammar, you're just reinforcing what you already know. And this is really key. It no longer seems foreign to you when you learn grammar after acquiring. Now it all feels familiar, and you're able to say, "Oh, okay, that's how this works," and I see it put into practice because I've already used it. Versus if you just learn grammar first without any applicable data or any tangible sort of interaction with Spanish, then it's going to be easy to get lost in the sauce because can be very complex, and learning too much too early and could really hinder your success. Or it's not going to hinder you, but it's going to slow you down just because you're going to be focused on all these concepts that are like in the clouds without really putting them into practice. And so the way I recommend you combine the two is you put these concepts into practice, meaning you acquire Spanish first, you listen, you read, and you speak, and then you learn the grammar that you've already acquired. And this combination is extremely powerful. So, should you acquire or should you learn Spanish? In my opinion, you should do both. Okay, acquiring is listening, reading, speaking. There's actually two components to acquiring Spanish. There's input and there's output. Input being what you read and what you listen to, output being what you write or what you speak. Okay, and I actually put together an entire video talking about the relationship between input and output. If you want to check that out, it's in the description below. Learning is learning the grammar, learning the concepts, learning the structures. And again, when you use these together, when you combine them correctly, you have an absolutely powerful combination that's going to take you super, super next level in your Spanish acquisition. So, learn Spanish and acquire it. You need both if you really want a high level and you almost want to sound like a native.